Hi guys, my name's Seb Tudor, I'm the man on the Silver Mountain, and welcome back. Now today, I was looking through some other stuff and for a couple of other videos, and I found this article, which is 20 things that 20 real women say make you more manly. Now, the first thing that jumped into my mind was I've seen this headline, or headlines like it, used for coaching courses and for things like that, where it's like, here is this list of things, and as a result, because you may not be these things, or because you may have trouble interacting with these things, here is our course, here are our services, please come and join us so that we can help you kind of build on this. I've also seen it with the whole pickup artist thing, where it's a much more kind of sleazy, but also there are these daft articles that just make no fucking sense. And so, this one's from Tapoos, is that how you say it? Which I'm sure you've seen all over Facebook and whatever else. But there are the issues that I have with this article is, firstly, a good number of the comments make no, like the redefining things make no sense. The definitions that the women have given. Secondly, the start of the article here is all about complimenting each other, which the rest of the article, like the actual things that have been said, don't relate to. Like, this is talking about fortifying bonds, and you've got happy, well-groomed man, thoughtful, well-groomed man, maybe. But it says that the male sense of self is a delicate one, when no, it's not. Everyone's sense of self is delicate until they work out who they are, build their own confidence, stuff like that. But you another happy, well-groomed man, another happy, well-groomed man. But you get down to like here, and it's all talk. It's saying, this maybe will give you some ideas on how to treat your male partner who maybe doesn't get as many compliments, or doesn't get into that as much. And yet then everything afterwards is these images of these definitions that have been given, and like I some of these definitions are bizarre. Some of them aren't too bad, but some of them are bizarre. But they don't add up to the beginning of the article, and like I feel like there's a lot of problems in this, because it yes, a sample of 20 isn't really representative, but considering I've heard some of these comments from people around me and around like other areas in the past, it does kind of speak to a much larger problem, a lack of perception in regards to both what kind of manliness and masculinity is, what womanliness and femininity is, and then how that knowledge or lack thereof is applied. Because it's like, as I said in ages and ages and ages ago in my two videos on masculinity and femininity, which I'll link down in the description for anyone that hasn't seen those, like it stands out as these are just lists of traits, and it doesn't matter if you're a manly man, or a somewhat more camp man, or a kind of tomboyish kind of girl, or a very girly girl. Those lists of traits can be applied to like either or like across those spectra, simply because the stuff that we're talking about here are lists of traits that are left over from when we were cavemen and before that. They're all sets of behaviours and patterns within the way that we develop that we can't necessarily avoid, but we do have varying degrees of that differ from person to person. And so these definitions make no sense. And the last thing that stands out to me is that there's a bit of a double standard here, because I've taken a look on this site to see if there was a 20 things that 20 real men say about you, say make you womanly, and it doesn't seem to exist. And like, again, some of the comments as we get down, some of these definitions that have been given as we get down to that, like if a man had said the same of a woman, especially in the modern kind of political social climate that we've got, especially within the Western world, it wouldn't stand. It wouldn't go down well at all. But again, there's no author on the article. There's nothing like that to actually kind of address an individual on how this doesn't add up. But the thing that stands out is that this stuff about complimenting at the beginning of the article doesn't relate to anything later on. But anyway, there are 20 of these, so let's get into them. So a manly man is compassionate, humble, and full of heart. He can laugh at himself and cares about other people's happiness. A manly man is also brave and has strong fibre. Brittany. This one's not too bad because, I guess being kind of full of heart suggests drive and being bold. Compassionate and humble is self-awareness, kind of laughing at himself and so on, and kind of bravery and strong moral fibre is very much about confidence. So those are all traits that are kind of on average more masculine traits in terms of behaviours because they are more obviously demonstrated. I think being funny and smart makes a man manly. I'm over he muscles. Well, being funny, no, not necessarily. There are funny women. But again, maybe that has to do a bit more with risk taking to a degree, but maybe not so much. Being smart, no, you don't need to be smart to be either masculine or feminine. You can run happily not being either, or not being smart whilst being either. And then I'm over he muscles. Okay, so that suggests that her prior perception or what she feels her prior perception maybe was expected to be was that she'd be attracted to muscular men. But being a muscular man isn't necessarily kind of masculine or manly either. So because it's this list of traits. It doesn't tend to be like there are physical attributes ascribed to male and female because we're a sexually dimorphic species, but again that's still like those are quite significant in their size, that you can have a lot in there and muscles isn't just it. Being self-aware and passionate about something in life makes a man manly. It's not all about big hands and muscles, although those things are nice too. Okay, so in which case fair enough, she likes big hands and muscles, good for her. But she's quite right in saying that being kind of self-aware and maybe more passionate, more driven are traits. And we're seeing this kind of pattern already in these comments where core masculine traits of kind of confidence, assertiveness, like the desirable elements of self-awareness, being driven, all of those things are being taken on here, but they're being kind of scrambled, either being thrown in as positives like this one and this one, or here where it's kind of there's a little bit mentioned, but for the most part it's more this is what I want and I'm sick of people expecting things of me. I think a man comes off as manly when they show assertiveness instead of saying where do you want to go tonight and I don't care, you pick. I like when a man says this is where we're going, I'll get you at 8. I also think a man that's determined to succeed in his career and who can account for his mistakes is more manly. Okay, in which case, you're looking here at being decisive, being assertive, being confident, being driven. Again, we're seeing all of that and it's just being put into a context that this person can kind of put forward. A man who knows what he wants. So again, kind of assertive and decisive, someone who cares about himself as well as others around him. Again, that self-awareness and that awareness generally. Someone who is a hard worker, again, driven. And then this one, kind of a handyman with knowledge. That's, maybe, but that's not really a kind of purely masculine trait. It's not one of the list that are generally ascribed, like you can quite happily be a handy woman and it's fine, with a lot of not general knowledge as well. And then she adds in the physical stuff at the end here, but she admits that it really doesn't have much to do with it. So fair enough. And again, arguably there is that you can argue that yes, there are masculine kind of physical traits where we tend to be taller than women and bigger than women, where we tend to have much more in the way of hair, all of those kind of things. But again, you can have a guy that can't grow a beard who can be incredibly manly. You can have a guy who's 5'0" and he can still be incredibly manly. It's much more about those internal kind of psychological traits in terms of manliness or masculinity, because you've got the two different scales on either side, but that big gap in between, as far as kind of sex and gender is concerned. Men are subjected to a lot of standards regarding being tough and not showing their emotions. Arguably, but then again, more recently, we're expected to show them an awful lot more because we've been told to show them more. Whilst there will be times when I show emotion, but there will also be times when I do frustrate Hannah, for instance, because my way of processing something that's happened or something that's bad is to not show it, is to let it filter through my system quietly, to take that big step back and not let it affect me. And where she's worried about me because she knows that it's churning over in my head, or that I'm feeling sad because I'm maybe not as lively as I would be usually, or something like that, she wants me to talk about it, she wants me to go through it with her, let her in, and it's like, well, you're already in, but the thing that has happened is that if my mind is a fortress or a castle or something like that, again, let's take that analogy, or a tower, as we've said before, then, if I'm letting you in, but everyone else has left the building, then you're still going to be there alone. It's still going to be that quiet time where the wind is just blowing down the corridors. That's it. So I'd say that's as much a failing of people understanding each other, both within the same sex and across the divide. Yet I think it's manlier when a man is sensitive. Talked about sensitivity versus empathy last week. I don't think she actually means sensitive there. Empathetic or empathic. Romantic. Again, this one is very kind of situational and arguably quite subjective, because romance can mean different things to different people. And passionate. So again, we're looking at the self-awareness and the kind of driven elements here, but we're not really like, that's subjective, and that seems to be conflated with this. So yeah. It means he's confident enough to not to worry about the standards. I also think that real men can cook. Well, in which case, this last part about the cooking thing, like the appreciation part, sure, fine. That's just being nice. I wouldn't say that's necessarily being manly. But the whole, you've said that they're off the hook on emotional standards, but then you set your own standard down here, which, when a man gets sweaty and dirty doing physical labour, anyone can get sweaty and dirty doing physical labour. So does that mean anyone that does? Well, I suppose you specify man, but then would that mean any man? The least confident, least assertive, least driven person in the world gets sweaty and dirty doing some physical labour. Does that mean that in your eyes rather, he would be a very manly individual? Because I'm not sure that necessarily equates. For me, it's not about anything physical. Good start. I think what makes them manly is if they treat women well. Especially if a woman, okay, they ruined it. This is one of these ones where we're going to have to take a step back here. So a man is manly, like purely based on his interactions with a woman. But what if that man isn't looking to interact with women? This is part of the problem with articles like this generally, but more so when they're done in this kind of way, where firstly the beginning of the article and what's actually going on in it don't add up, but also it's like, so imagine flipping this round the other way. If a guy turned around and said, well, a woman is only womanly, a woman is only feminine if, it's nothing to do with physicality, but it's to do with, like, she needs to look after me, she needs to show me love and care and be thoughtful in all the ways that I want. So in this case she specifies small ways, not big grand gestures. But she needs to show me like that she loves me in all of these ways, and then that means that she's feminine or womanly. Like, people would flip tables over that. That's ridiculous. A man is manly when he supports my goals and knows I can take care of myself while still having enough sensibility and compassion to know when I need support. Okay, so in which case, again, this is basically the same as the one before. A man is only manly when, like, as per his interactions with her, where he needs to show sensibility and compassion, but only truly to serve what she's dealing with. I'm sorry, if a guy said that the other way around, again, people would flip out. Physical attributes, well, I mean, the attributes that she lists here, broad shoulders, large hands, being tall, masculine facial features, fair enough. They're all manly in terms of they follow with being male a lot of the time. And then you've got confidence and being self-assured. So I can't 100% disagree with this, but it seems that this person is very physical focused rather than anything else. It's also interesting to note that she seems to lump in confidence and being self-assured as physical traits. So, hey ho. Being able to take control and make plans, be confident in his decisions. So again, kind of confident, decisive. We're seeing a theme. Being athletic and having a deep voice. Got to disagree with you here. Being athletic is more to do with your pastimes, and anyone can take that up. And having a deep voice, you can have manly people who don't have deep voices. That's not a hard thing to find necessarily. Someone physically fit with a good character, physically fit, maybe not. It would show a level of self-awareness. It would show a level of consideration maybe for themselves and their situation, but it's not a prerequisite by any stretch. Faithful, that's more of a thing for everybody. Confident, fair enough. Understanding, well, yeah, there's that level of self-awareness. Helpful, again, level of self-awareness. Hardworking, that's that drive. A handyman that takes control and knows how to take control, again, decisive control, focused kind of thing. And then, men have beards more often than not. Fair enough, but can't really lump that in there, I'm afraid. He wants to help you fix things, okay, in which case that's kind of broad, and men are more problem-solving based, but that if they only go to fix things, then that suggests maybe a lack of self-awareness. So this one's a bit more double-edged. Independence, financial security, secure with himself. Security and independence, that's that kind of control, assertiveness, kind of self-awareness. Financial security, I don't think it's fair to lump that in, especially considering the world that we live in, where kind of if you're midway up the ladder in a company and something goes tits up at the top, then potentially you're out of a job. You couldn't control that. You couldn't do anything, and so you might have prepared for it, but that still doesn't mean you're going to have an easy time getting back into a job. So I don't think that's fair to lump in there with that one. But it's interesting that kind of security is attached in this person's mind, in Courtney's mind, to the rest of the security around the situation. I think there's too much pressure put on men to be manly. Okay, the definition of manliness is constantly changing, though it's not, because we're not evolving that fast. Manliness is, as said, a list of traits, but I get what you're trying to say here. It varies from person to person, which is true. Everyone has those differing degrees of those traits, and also how they apply those traits as to whether or not it's perceived by those around them to be manly or not, which ultimately comes down to one degree or another, kind of cultural practices in a lot of instances. But just because those traits within different cultures, within different environments, have been picked up to mean different things, doesn't mean that those traits aren't still on average one or the other, and can't be positive and negative in various different ways. I think a man is manly when he's true to himself and the people around him, not afraid to show his personality or his emotions despite whatever backlash he may receive. In which case, I can't disagree with that. That's again that level of kind of self-awareness and confidence and assertiveness the kind of is more conventionally associated with masculinity. Being comfortable in his skin, in touch with his feelings, well, so that's that level of confidence and self-awareness. Again, we've only got a couple of these left. A man who is confident is who he is. He's not afraid to be who he is in any situation, regardless of who's around, and doesn't put up a front to impress anybody. A man who has goals and aspirations and isn't content with normalcy. Well, normalcy and being content with it are, I feel like those are things that are very subjective. So we're not, those could be different from each person to person. So I feel like that's kind of Kristen here putting in a bit more of her into her comment. But having goals and aspirations, yes, that's very much the kind of goal setting, goal focused, kind of driven, assertive level of things. But in this bit here, where it's like doesn't put up a front, I'd say that potentially sometimes putting up a front or adapting to your situation is important to being confident, being self-aware. So that's I get what she's saying here, and yeah, you should be yourself, but at the same time there are different degrees of the self. And someone who's self-aware and confident can acknowledge that and move between those levels without having to be too worried. Hair is manly, well, maybe, but maybe not in the way that it's purely a defining trait. Honesty, I think that's very much more a thing for everybody. But I suppose being honest does allow is suggesting of a level of self-awareness and confidence in what you're saying. A good sense of humour, no, I don't think so, because as much as that might be a little more risk-focused, you can still have someone who's maybe not the best, not the funniest at telling jokes or anything like that, but who is still quite a manly person, still quite masculine in the way that they demonstrate the traits that they have and the way that they demonstrate them. Being handy, knowing how to cook clean, hardworking, that suggests drive, so yes, but being handy and stuff like this, maybe not so much. I don't want to state the obvious, but probably when they're really into working out. Again, this is more of a pastime thing, so probably not. But okay, so we've got all of these things that have been said, and we've got the ones that are kind of agreeable, the ones that are just batshit crazy, and the ones that are somewhere between the two. And so, taking a look at this and going, okay, yeah, no, fair enough. There are some ideas going back and forth here. But again, if you flipped it around the other way, a lot of these comments would be potentially kind of slapped into next week if it had been a man saying it about a woman. And then, the thing that still stands out to me is that the title of the article seems to add up with what's been said here, but the intro to the article suggested still about complimenting and bonding and stuff like that, and that just doesn't seem to be here at all, because all they've done is define their perception of a thing that really and truly is kind of black and white. It is these lists of traits that are most commonly found amongst one or other of the sexes. So, it's an interesting thing. I feel like one of the biggest things that comes out of this is communication and understanding, and kind of looking at the basics are the things that people need to do more. But anyway, I'd love to hear what you guys have to think about this. Which comments stand out as ones that you maybe agree with more, which ones that you agree with less, and what are your thoughts on if there was another article? I'm sure there is probably somewhere on the internet, but I couldn't find one on this site or anything like that. I mean, if you find one, then please drop it my way. Maybe I just missed it. But, what are your thoughts on if a group of guys, 20 guys, said 20 things that they felt made women kind of womanly? Because I reckon that would be shot down in flames before it even really got released, and there would be apologies issued by whoever put that up and whatever else. I think there would be a big backlash over that. So, let me know what you guys think. But otherwise, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the video tomorrow. Take care. Thank you very much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, then please drop us a like, share this video, and subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the video tomorrow. Take care.